welcome to Zelda Speedruns. Tonight we're bringing you the beginning of the A Link to the Past All Dungeons Restricted Major Glitches Tournament. It's Group J, Andy versus oase28, and I am joined by Kelsey and Imosaro on commentary. And how are you doing tonight, ladies?
We're doing great, thanks.
Pretty good, yeah.
And I'm going to set them off. So, I don't know if you want to talk for a minute before I set them off, or if we just want to get the show on the road.
I think we should just get the show on the road.
Okay,
yeah,
well,
we can talk. We got a nice intro
Okay,
section,
well, thank you. I will set them off.
Yeah, so Kelsey, why don't you tell us about that intro?
Yeah, what's up, guys? Good evening, and happy Friday to everybody. I'm Kelsey, also known as Kelpsy. I'm joined here by Imosaro, the lovely Imosaro.
Hi, I just waved. You guys can't see it.
I also waved at my camera, and unfortunately, same. I will also wave to Emo all the way on the other side.
I've been waving to you since we got in voice chat. It's been
what?
Great.
No way.
I know, it's so crazy.
So we are actually here starting off the Link to the Past All Dungeons Restricted Major Glitches tournament. This is the very first match of the tournament that we have been highly anticipating for the last few months. A lot of love, a lot of work has been going into setting up this tournament, and here we are there getting started, and we're just going to keep talking through this intro part because you guys know Link to the Past starts with a nice little escape section. So Emo, tell us what this is about. What is restricted?
All right, well,
what is this?
Here's the deal. So Link to the Past is a game that has many glitches. Some of them are very minor, and some of them are major. They're the big boy glitches, and they let you do all the cool stuff. So restricted major glitches is a format that we have sort of collectively agreed upon, where basically it's a major glitch category, but we want you to still play the game. Like, that's probably the best way to put it. So the simplest explanation that I can give you guys is that we're able to do more or less anything that we want to do on the overworld. To get around the world faster, to get into some dungeons when we shouldn't be there. But by and large, we're expected to complete all the dungeons. One, that's the all dungeons part of the category. And two, we're going to mostly play the dungeons like as intended. There are going to be a few little glitchy things we do to optimize the run inside the dungeons, but for the most part, we're playing them. We're playing most of the dungeons. We're beating all the bosses.
Yeah. Exactly. So that being said, we're definitely going to be doing some things very much supremely out of order. So if you're familiar with the no major glitches category, you'll know that we do the light world, then we do the dark world, because that's how the game really wants us to do it, and really how the way you have to do it. But in this category, we kind of have the liberty to not do it that way. So you'll see our runners here go from light world dungeon to dark world dungeon. And being careful not to, accidentally die in the dark world when they're not supposed to, kind of thing. But right now, this beginning section right here is supposed to be very familiar with what they're going to be doing. The escape section, and then they have to go straight to Eastern. So we're just going to be hanging out here for a little bit.
Yeah, you know, for anybody who's less familiar with the speedruns of this game, you'll see both of these runners doing a lot of sort of, core Link to the Past movement tech. This split, there's not a whole lot to do, really. It's pretty standard. We call this escape, and basically we are attempting to save Zelda. She has been captured and put in this jail cell in the basement. We're going to bring her into the sewers and take her to an old man, because apparently that's the thing to do. So a lot of what's going on here is this is one of two dungeons that we're going to do before we get the boots, which allow us to go fast. So we are going to be pumping a lot. You'll see both of the runners. You see them moving kind of diagonally, but not 45 degrees, like very slowly diagonally sometimes. And you'll see them walking along walls. And that's specifically so that they can be pumping whenever possible. And that's allowing them to move substantial percent faster than sort of ordinary movement. It's a small save, but in this segment, every little bit counts.
Yeah, especially for these two runners, too. I mean, these two guys are very, very established, very, they've put a lot of time into, perfecting their skill in this game. And because of that, they're going to be really trying to optimize that that hard to do, really micro optimizations that you'll hear us talk about this all literally the entire tournament as speedrun tournaments go. But it is definitely something that you will see here at the beginning for sure. Each screen in Link to the Past, and most everybody is familiar with this, but each screen in Link to the Past is pretty much down to a science of what's going to be fastest, what's the best way to move through each one, and that's like really the hardest part about this game is knowing how to move and doing it, you know, consistently every single time, because you will have to deal with RNG of enemies. You'll have to deal with, I mean, you know, maybe your hands are just sweaty and you just slip your hand on the controller. I don't know, man. Things happen to me like that all the time, but you know, it's not going to be perfect every time, and that's really what makes this so hard. And especially when we get to the part where we're going to be seeing a lot of those restricted major glitches, the big time loss that can happen will be during those parts, and it can be, you know, the more consistent you are at those tricks, the better. But if things go wrong, I mean, that could be a total, you know, game changer for who's going to be winning or losing.
Yeah, I think that's one really important thing about this category as compared to the no major glitches category that a lot of people are familiar with, and that we did a tournament for a couple years ago now. The restricted major glitches category, as a general rule, they're a bit more volatile, right? There are definitely things that can go wrong. In some cases, when those things go wrong, they can actually effectively soft lock you, requiring you to save and quit and go set them up again. So we're all really looking forward to this tournament, because I think that while, you know, the leaderboards are pretty informative, right, as to what we can expect out of people, there's always a chance for some crazy stuff to happen even the best runner in this category. And so I think these are going to be some pretty interesting races to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, this category is just a really fun thing to see. Like, it's a lot of, you know, it's a lot of speedrunning skills, a lot of knowing glitches and being comfortable with where you are in the game. Because there's going to be parts in this game, there's going to be parts in this speedrun specifically where it's going to look like, you know, something completely different, not at all what Link to the Past is supposed to look like. And having that kind of skill, having that kind of comfort, I mean, it means a lot to, you know, it means a lot in terms of how well you're going to get through all of this.
Absolutely.
You know, it takes a certain like mental fortitude to keep going, even though like things are going wrong, or things aren't, they might not, they're not supposed to be going, you know. So it's I reset during this category all the time because I get so frustrated.
So we've just seen our first divergence. The game starts more or less normally, but obviously saving and quitting is clearly allowed in this category, which we don't allow in the no major glitches run that most people do. We're going to be going to Eastern Palace, which is expected, but we're going to be getting there in a slightly unconventional way. Both Andy and Oase are going to be going for this citrus clip here, which basically involves doing sword buffers to clip in here, and we're going to break the camera and use that to just walk right in to Eastern Palace. Andy getting it really, really quickly. Oase not far behind.
Yeah, because we don't have the boots yet, they did have to do a sword clip there. Of course, you can just walk into Eastern Palace normally, but this is a little bit faster. This is just one of these glitches that is allowed in this category. And that one, Citrus Clip, named after Yuzuhara, who's one of the most well-known glitch hunters of this
he's found
game.
Like all the glitches.
All of them, pretty much all of them. Anyway, that one is, I mean, it's really tough to do. It's really hard, and it's, you know, you're very, very likely to lose time there because it's just so tough.
Yeah, so basically, again, Eastern Palace is going to be another dungeon that we do, aside from the way we got in, basically normally. The reason that we're coming here first, aside from the fact that you might think, well, that's what we're normally going to do, is we're going to get the green pendant from beating the boss of this dungeon. We're also going to get the bow, which is an incredibly useful weapon. But more importantly, that green pendant is going to get us the boots. And the boots do a few things. One, they make the game actually enjoyable to play because you can move quickly. But two, and more importantly, they make it a whole heck of a lot easier to clip into things. And to do all sorts of interesting glitchy tech. So we're no longer going to have to be doing sword clips necessarily. Once we get the boots, we'll be able to do much easier and much more efficient clips.
Yep. So our runners are just making their way through Eastern Palace right now, and like Emo said, we just really need to get those boots as soon as possible. So, I mean, Eastern is just kind of a standard dungeon. There's not really a ton to talk about here. But once we do get those boots, a lot of the glitches that we'll see, especially in the overworld, will be taking advantage of the spin speed state as well as kind of like diagonal boundaries in the game. Basically, the game is like, this is an optional thing that we have here. Like, if you walk into it, nothing, you're going to stay out of this boundary, but, once we get spin speed state, it's not exactly there anymore. So,
yeah,
we're definitely going to be taking advantage of that.
We've been talking pretty chill and just kind of getting set up here during this split, but once we get out of Eastern Palace, things are going to start accelerating pretty substantially. So we can expect to see these runners start to go for some more interesting tech. And we've seen a little bit of divergence here, I think mostly just because of the big key skip room in Eastern and the slightly slower citrus clip on the entrance. But once we get out of here, the volatility starts. This is where, once we get our boots, that's when all of the potentially volatile clips and things are happening.
Mm-hmm.
So Andy setting up for his Armos quick kill here, and Oase not far behind. Mm-hmm. Basically a boss fight behind, which is, frankly, it's a pretty quick boss fight. This is not a lot of difference right now.
14 seconds at most. So one thing that our runners are also going to be needing to be pretty cognizant about is their basically their ammunition, their bombs, and their arrow counts. So when we get past this part in Eastern and we get the boots, they're going to be going ahead and picking up some bombs in the back of Sahasrara's house, and those bombs will help them in the next dungeon in Palace of Darkness. Now, bombs are really useful in this category because we'll use them for bomb clips. We know about bomb jumps. Bomb jumps are definitely a thing as well, but bomb clips are kind of one of the things that make this category a beginner, quote unquote, friendly, because it makes a lot of clips easier. The other thing is that they need to pay attention to how many arrows they have, is because when they get to the Palace of Darkness, they're going to be trying to, get as many arrows as possible to make sure that they're able to get through the back of Pod quickly, without losing too many arrows.
Yeah, so we've got a little bit of an interesting situation here. So you saw Oase go, once we got the boots, he went to the back of Sahasrara's little hut there and picked up some bombs. Those bombs are really useful because we're about to do some bomb clips that like Kelsey was talking about. Andy did not pick up those bombs. I don't know if that was intentional on his part or not.
Yes,
but he will now be obligated to do this as a sword clip instead of the bomb clip, I believe. So, so we will see some difference here.
Mm-hmm. This is actually kind of a treat because Andy has been running this game for a very long time. He's been running this category since 2015 for about 5 years. Back then, bomb jumps were a thing. Bomb clips were not a thing. And you had to do sword clips. So for him, we get to see kind of the old way to do things, also kind of harder way to do things. And
yeah,
with any luck, it's gonna be faster, potentially faster, because obviously with bombs, you're limited to how quickly you can put down a bomb, get into position, and the bomb detonating. So we'll get to see both strategies here happen, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So Andy just did a glitch called Kiki Yeet, where he literally yeeted himself across the screen with the camera broken. And this has allowed him to get into this cave that's actually up on the wall of Death Mountain, just below the Spectacle Rock cave. And we're going to use this cave to clip into this wall over here. And that's going to allow us to get into Palace of Darkness if Andy can make it happen. There's the yeet from Owase's side. He's coming down here and going to enter this cave. Andy has gotten the sword clip. We'll get to see Oase do the bomb clip variant of this in a second. Andy is in Palace of Darkness, but only sort of in Palace of Darkness. He's actually in what's called cave state. So because he entered here from a cave, the game thinks he's in a cave. He happens to be in Palace of Darkness on the map, but he's actually in a cave. So in order to collect items properly, in particular some of the keys and things like that, Andy needs to exit and re-enter. It's a little bit finicky because we never actually opened Palace of Darkness. So really unintuitively, despite the fact that we're actually walking back up into the dungeon and we're actually holding down there when we exit the dungeon. And woe be unto you if you forget to hold down.
If you forget to hold down, you're very much stuck. But yeah, holding down is the way to get back into the dungeon. And otherwise you would have to do all of that all over again, unfortunately. Because the only way to get into Pallet otherwise would be to like go through the front door, which, you know, you would have to beat Ganon and all that fun stuff. So
yeah. Now there are two variants of these bomb clips that we're going to be doing. The one that Oase did to get in here is the non-instant variety, which basically means that there's one or more, usually one, input that you have to do. You have to move one pixel before you can actually clip through the boundary from where the bomb puts you. There are a few of them that we'll see, and we'll talk about this later, where it's actually instant, meaning we can just hold the direction we ultimately want to hold for the clip immediately upon clipping into the wall. But so any of these non-instant ones are definitely a little bit finicky because there is a 1 frame input buffer that you have to do before the clip happens. So keep that in mind when you're deciding how impressed to be or not.
So this route that they're taking through the Palace of Darkness is a little bit different than what you would see in like a No Major Glitches run. Because they were able to enter Pod in the cave state, they were able to use one of those keys that they had just spawn out of nowhere from getting into Pod in a weird way. And because of that, they're just going to be getting their hammer and leaving. Normally you would see speedrunners get an extra key after that. But because they had an extra key already to begin with, they can just get the hammer and leave. Another thing to note about this section of Pod is that, or during this dungeon, is that you would normally have like the Master Sword here, and they only have Fighter Sword. Because of this, that's significant because they don't get sword beams at all, which makes some of the strategies in the room in these next few rooms a little different. So they'll have to be using those arrows that I was talking about earlier, and they'll be utilizing the boomerang as well to hopefully hit that switch when they get to the basement. They're just a little bit trickier. Honestly, these tricks are a little more finicky. I personally think they're a little more finicky. It's you know, something you just have to be aware of, especially when you get closer to Helmasaur, when you know you're going to be doing Turtle Room and you can't do spins. You know, once you get to actual Helmasaur and you can't, use your not that you would really slash Helmasaur. Really, you would just use your hammer. But
so Andy getting a pretty cool boomerang there to nail that switch. It's something that we do in this category again, like Kelsey mentioned, because we don't have sword beams, which is how we would ordinarily trigger that switch in some other categories. One other important equipment difference to point out, especially in this dungeon, this is the dungeon where it has the biggest impact, is that we're actually down 2 hearts, 1 or 2 hearts, depending on whether runners get the Sanctuary heart or not. In the No Major Glitches category, we're down 1 to 2 hearts from where we would ordinarily be. Helmasaur, this boss, we are doing, we have to damage him with the hammer because our Fighter Sword does nothing. And the hammer has a really terrible hitbox. Helmasaur can be very mean. Andy getting a very friendly Helmasaur, all things considered. But being down a couple hearts on this fight and having your damage capacity with your sword reduced is definitely a bit nerve-wracking. You'll see both of these runners are going to skip the silver arrows this run. They're not going to get them. You will see runs in this tournament where people opt to get the silver arrows. This fight in particular is one of the places where it makes runs just way safer and way more consistent. We're seeing a little bit of that on Oase.
Oh my gosh, I was clenching so hard for Oase. So yeah, Oase took a couple fireballs and walked into Helmasaur there, and that is why this dungeon is scary. Wow, he really clutched it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a muscle relaxer after that.
But yes, as Emo was saying, silver arrows in this category, you would get them, if you do opt to get them, you would get them super early in the run, actually right after you would get the Mire, before you even get into the Palace of Darkness. And that would make this fight so much easier. You would only just have to hit Helmasaur with that one silver arrow during that second phase and be done with it. So it really is a really beautiful safety. So after this dungeon, you're going to be saving and quitting. Saving and quit is, we didn't mention it before, but it is allowed in this category. Which is really good because we don't get the flute at all, so it makes things a lot better. And they'll be going up to Hera and using one of those spin speed, going through boundary things again to clip up there in Death Mountain.
Yeah, that's a clip that we will be seeing a bunch of times in this run.
Quite a few times.
Sometimes we do it to go directly into the dungeon like that. Other times we'll be stopping a little bit short and actually staying outside the dungeon and doing broken camera shenanigans. So that will be fun. But both of these runners are doing a version of that clip where you actually sort of tap your way through the wall using dash buffers. Like Kelsey was mentioning, there are versions of that clip that also rely on getting a spin speed state where you can just actually walk through a wall. That's actually a little bit slower because of the sword spin, but both of these runners going for the tap strats and doing a great job.
Mm-hmm. So, Palace of Hera, Tower of Hera. So Hera is going to be pretty much the same as you would normally see. The nice thing is, since we've already been Palace of Darkness, we'll get to see, hopefully, a slightly faster Moldorm fight if Moldorm behaves. I mean, as always, I think Hera is one of the worst dungeons because of the complete, just the enemies are just everywhere all the time, and there's really no rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's just really irritating to deal with. But they do need to do this dungeon right now to get the the Moon Pearl, which is something they definitely need to do for the rest of the run. We were able to get into the Palace of Darkness early without using the Moon Pearl, using that cave state pod kind of thing, but we can't do that for all the other dungeons. So, or maybe we can, but it's not exactly optimal, right? We do have to beat Hera anyways. We might as well get that. So, let's see what they end up doing here.
Yep. So Andy gonna be going for this bomb jump here. Walking up to it, using a couple sword buffers to get himself up against the edge. That allows him to clip right over there and grab his Moon Pearl. And we'll see Oase do whichever version of that bomb jump that he does. There's actually there's a number of different setups that you can use. There are versions that involve bonking with the boots. There are versions that involve spinning with the sword. There's as many versions of this as you can probably think of. So there you saw Oase going for a sword spin to wind himself up on the last pixel. So this is one of the best things about this category is getting to do Moldorm with the hammer here. With the hammer, he only takes 3 hits, and more importantly, never goes into that really terrible enraged state where he starts moving really, really fast and can be a real jerk. So nice fight from Andy. And
that was nice and clean. Sometimes
Moldorm,
sometimes Moldorm will kind of get in that left area and just be problematic because you can't quite approach with the hammer, but it looks like OSA had some pretty nice luck there too. So now our runners are going to be going to Village of Outcasts to go straight to Thieves Town. The way they're going to do that, since we don't have the flute, we don't
have the glove. That's the big problem.
We don't have the flute. Right. We really don't have any legitimate way to get to Village of Outcasts. So on Andy's end, we're going to see what we call a Death Mountain Descent DMD. And that was one of the spin speed things I was talking about. And I always think that people do DMA the same, or not DMA, but I guess Hera clip the same way I do. But as Emo pointed out, they don't. But using DMD there just to get down quickly, because we entered this part of Hyrule in a weird way, the game just kind of tries to mix the palettes, which is why those colors got a little weird there in this part of Hyrule. But once we get into actual Thieves Town itself, it's totally fine.
Yeah, we haven't actually, gone anywhere we're not supposed to. We haven't actually, corrupted the game in any way. It's just we're basically still using a large chunk of the Death Mountain tile set. So it just looks a little bit weird.
Both Andy and OSI got hecked up by the Zazek there from hopping down.
Yeah.
Thieves Town is a little scary. I mean, you've got, I don't think you have as much health. You don't, I'm pretty sure you don't have as much health as you normally would in NMG, and also you only have that fighter sword, which means you're just not killing things when you're running into them. You're just kind of poking them.
I think the sword is the biggest difference. I mean, we're definitely there will come a point. Andy getting very bullied right there. There will come a point where our health will and resources will equalize or outstrip what we're dealing with in the regular speed run. But we end up in a situation here where the big difference is that whereas ordinarily when we come here, we'd be killing a fair number of things by dashing through them. Here we're killing nothing by dashing through them. And yeah, Andy got the good, and so did Oase. And I think Oase got, I did not see a lot of lag on Owase's side. There's even when you get that pixel, depending on the room setup, sometimes you'll get versions of it that have a fair amount of lag, actually. And so it's always nice when you can get one of the setups with pretty much no lag.
Mm-hmm. And right there, we just saw Andy pick up some bombs. So like I said, our runners are going to be cognizant of how many bombs they have. Since Andy didn't pick up those initial 3 bombs from the back of Sahasrala's house, he was a few bombs down. But yeah, they want to be kind of capped out at 9 or 10 bombs right now. And coming up here soon, we're going to see just a little bit of an alternate route that they have to take through Thieves Town because they don't have the glove. It just involves having to do one extra room where they have to kill all the enemies and kind of run around in a way. So there is a fast way to do this. Looks like Andy did some of it with a bomb strat there. You do want to use like the hammer to kill these guys in one shot.
Yeah, so Oase going for a slightly more optimal strat there. Really, the main difference was placing the bomb first, then killing the guy with the hammer, and then throwing the bomb. So rather than having to do quite as much walking around, he was able to avoid having to do too much extra footwork. It's a pretty minor difference in the grand scheme of the run, but it is nice to see people going for sort of the closer to optimal strats.
Right. Actually, Owase's making really good time here. He's definitely catching up to Andy a good bit. Andy just having a little slightly poorer movement in some of these rooms, but where Owase's optimized a little better. So he's only a couple rooms behind now, whereas before he was definitely a little more than a couple rooms, I would say.
Yeah, again, we're in that phase of the run where we've done some stuff that has a little bit of volatility to it. The biggest, most volatile segment is still absolutely in the future here. And so, you can, in these dungeons, when we're just doing things more or less normally, that's where you'll see the difference in these folks. No major glitches, another category, PBs start to show a little bit, right? Some of it is just about consistency, and some of it is just about, raw, where are they at with their ability to just execute these rooms super fast.
Mm-hmm. Good blind fights from both Andy and Oase there.
Yeah, the difference is definitely shrunk a little bit here, I think, heading into the blind fight. It's I don't know, I think we were maybe 2 rooms or so, and I think we're probably like a room and a half now. We're getting closer.
So after this segment, they're going to be heading towards Skullwoods, as you would imagine, but we do have, of course, a few errands to do. They're going to be picking up some money. They're going to be picking up a better sword. They're going to be picking up a frog and a book. Because we do have to, get certain items to enter certain dungeons, needing to get ether later on, which is why we need the book. We do need to get flippers, but that's why we need the money. Tempered is just, gonna make this game a heck of a lot easier.
Yeah, we're literally gonna multiply our damage output by 4 by getting the tempered sword. Now Andy is just gonna walk up and talk to this guy here, and then Mire to go get his book. And it looks like Oase is gonna do the same, actually. There's another strat that can be done there, but neither of them have opted to do it, so I'm not going to talk about it.
Yep. But what they're doing here is actually pretty fast, especially if you get the quick warp. The way to set up that quick warp there, which saves about half a second every time. is just to literally walk into the wall, warp into the light world, and then as you're leaving the library, to dash into it.
Yep. So here, one thing you may have noticed is we never actually got the Master Sword, and we never ever will. The game actually doesn't care that we never got it. The Smiths will happily convert our Fighter Sword into a Tempered Sword, and we're going to take them up on that offer. This requires us to do a couple of particular types of screen transitions here. So we've set this warp up in a very particular place to allow us to quickly do the screen transition on and off without having to go through the whole mirror warp sequence again. We'll come in here and grab our sword, and then we'll be taking our portal right back into the Dark World.
Yep, and then they'll be picking up their second set of 300 rupees and going all the way to Skullwoods. And Skullwoods, unfortunately, is gonna be pretty much the same as you would expect in no major glitches. It is a little more volatile because they don't have as much health as they normally would, so things can get scary around Moth. But I mean, with these two players, they're very, very experienced in the game. They're very skilled. I don't expect we'll see any problems.
Yeah, so we just got 2 out of 2 fence dashes from our runners, so this is clearly a blessed race.
Super
and
blessed.
Yeah, anything could happen at this point. Both of them have just saved 20 minutes, so who even knows how space-time works anymore? All right, so Andy, the first into this midway room here in Skullwoods. This is the worst room in the game, and Andy doing some interesting footwork with that statue there. Yeah, Owase's room looking a little bit more expected.
Opting for the right side.
Yeah,
right side guy over here. I've never seen that.
I sometimes go right, but
I guess
yeah,
it's fair with what's going on.
You never know. People, some people go left, some people go right. I generally go whatever way is the opposite of my one-mind partner to screw with them.
Oh, wow.
So
you heard it here, guys.
Yeah, that's the tech. How to end friendships in 2 hours. So Andy did a quick bomb jump to go grab his fire rod. Owase will be doing the same, or just did the same actually. Both of them feeling confident with their health. So
were those EVJs or no? They were just regular bomb jumps, I think.
Yeah, and they. You may have seen them both fall in the pit to exit the room. You can actually bonk back across, but aside from being a little bit faster, as long as you're comfortable with the health, falling in that pit actually gives us iframes coming out of that room into the overworld, and so that allows us to walk right through an enemy that's conveniently stationed just outside and anxious to ruin our day. So taking that fall in the pit is actually safer than not falling in the pit.
I still bonk because I'd rather just kill every Ropa in my path. But that's just me.
Everybody's got a way of doing it.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So yeah, making our way back here to Skullwoods. They both having super easy time, knocking that Gibdo into the spikes there to get that key quickly. It actually doesn't even matter if you kill the Helmosaurs in here. We're not really concerned about prize packs in this category, really, unless we're low on something like bombs or arrows or magic. But that's really rare, and we have, ways around that.
Yeah. So both runners having sort of pretty solid but not incredible boss fights here in this dungeon. They Owase a little bit low on health, but just in general, that fight can get really out of hand really quickly. You want to kill that boss as quickly as possible because the more those spikes come out over time, the more those spikes start moving around the room, the worse the fight gets. It gets dangerous for you, and it actually gets harder to damage the boss because he's immune to the spikes. So both runners managing to get sort of like a 7-8 out of 10 boss fight there, and so not really changing too much. But this race is still really close. Like we've been seeing this sort of slightly variable, 1 to 2 room difference, but this is where the run really gets kind of crazy. So this is going to be interesting. So the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to clip up into Tower Hera. We're going to exit, and what we need to do now is go shopping.
Yeah.
So we are going to grab a medallion that we need for later in the game. We're gonna use this to get into another dungeon later, and we also need to go grab our flippers. We do this now because it's a good time to do it. As far as I'm aware, I don't think there's like a particularly incredible reason to do it, but
I mean, the only way I think the other
there is actually a good reason to do it, which is getting to Swamp after Misery Mire, because we're about to accelerate pretty quickly here. So we clipped into Tower Hera to go grab that Ether Medallion, and then we're going to clip down here, down to the Zora area, and go grab our flippers.
Yeah, and I think they're also in that, there's no really better way to get to Zora's domain, really, since we don't have the fleet or anything. I mean, this is clearly, it is the most opportune time to do it, and especially with this DMD here, where we're able to do it pretty quickly.
Yeah. So with our medallion and our flippers in hand, we are going to get set to go into the Misery Mire area. We're gonna, like I said, we're starting to accelerate here, so we're gonna go to 2 dungeons pretty quickly. The first dungeon that we're gonna do is Desert Palace, but we're actually gonna get there by going into the Dark World and going to the Misery Mire area. We're gonna do this because we're never getting the flute in this run, and we're gonna do Misery Mire after this. And so we want to get there in the Dark World so that we can mirror to Desert and avoid having to sit through a book cutscene. And then we can take our warp right back to go to Misery Mire. Now, Andy is, looks like he's going to go for this clip here through the wall, which is a spin speed clip. We'll see if Oase goes for the bomb clip through the wall.
It really depends on what's going on with the enemy RNG there. Those bombers are just super aggressive. This is what they call the worst. What is that? I have never seen that. I have never seen someone clip up there before.
Yeah, so that's the bomb clip there, and Oase did a pretty darn good job of it. Like Kelsey was saying, the tricky part there is those bomber enemies. They can really rain on your parade, but both runners getting over here pretty quick, and again, still a very close race. So we're gonna mirror up here in the top of this area and go in the back door to Desert Palace. Go grab our big key. And that's all we're going to get here. We already got the level 2 gloves out of Thieves Town. We could technically get the level 1 gloves in here, and that would be real bad for us because it would actually overwrite our level 2 gloves. So we will be avoiding that at all cost.
Correct. So after this, we'll be headed to Mire. But I mean, really, one thing we do have to think about is yes, this game, this race, I should say, is extremely close, and we really do have the great RNG equalizer at the end of this run. If you recall, or if you've seen so far, we have not beaten Aghanim 1 yet, and Aghanim 1 is right before Ganon in this run, which is just the loveliest ray of sunshine. So. We after all this execution, after all doing, racing so hard, I mean, they still, it could be not a close race at the end. But
yeah, so
I think they're going to be fine.
Speaking of close races, the race just got even closer. So Andy, on his way to the back of Desert Palace, actually accidentally ran into his Dark World portal. So he basically had to, 1, take the portal transition time to the Dark World, 2, menu back, or well, he was already on the mirror, I think. He should have been. Unless he had actually already menued off of it. I think he might have.
He did because he did spin speed.
Yeah, he did the spin speed. So he had to menu back to the mirror, take another portal transition cost. And so now, as you can see, what was a 12-second difference or so is now, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's a low single digit number of seconds. It might be 1.5 or 2. So this is a tremendously close race right now.
Wow, that was almost in sync.
Yeah, both runners getting great. Yeah, this might be less than a second apart, actually.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and Oase actually getting the lower grab on the pendant, gonna save a few frames there, I think. So yeah, this is extraordinarily close.
So in this next dungeon coming up in Misery Mire, we're actually going to see a little bit of an extra field trip happening in the middle of Mire. And this is just to kind of optimize the dungeon that comes after this, which is Swamp, to make things a little faster. So we're going to be kind of clipping in and out of Mire. We're also going to be taking a little trip in Hera and also in Swamp just to go back into Mire. And this is just to get the hook shot earlier, as well as set up Swamp, so we don't even have to touch that left side of Swamp. You can just go straight to the back. This is, I think, what used to be my least favorite part of the run, but I actually really enjoy now because I think it's the most interesting to watch.
It's definitely very interesting, that is for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if it can still go horribly wrong sometimes, because these clips that happen in here they're very finicky, and they you can lose a lot of time here if they don't go well. So what we're going to be seeing here is both runners are going to be getting a small key. They're going to be getting 2 small keys. They're actually going to get this one in the chest, and they're also going to be getting the one in the pot here on the corner. And then they're going to be going to get that Mire Big Key. They're going to use the Mire Big Key to get the cane later, but they're also going to use that Mire Big Key to get the hook shot. For whatever reason, game says, yeah, it's cool if you use that big key for more than one chest, because we don't expect you to just leave a dungeon and use it elsewhere, but we're going to do that. So we're actually going to see this first loop that they're doing here twice, and they're going to be... I think they might do a bomb jump after getting the big key. I don't know. Have you seen that yet?
I'm not sure what Oase goes for.
Yeah.
I think Andy goes for a version of it, right? So
he does. Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see what he goes for. But yeah. So we're gonna, like Kelsey said, we're taking 2 laps around this dungeon. The first one is to get the big key of this dungeon. We talked earlier about the fact that when we first went into Palace of Darkness, we weren't actually in Palace of Darkness. We were in a cave. Well, we're about to do the same thing here, where we're gonna go to some other dungeons. Okay, he's going for it. Oase is gonna run around again. So we are gonna be going to a couple other dungeons, but we're still gonna be in Mire. So we're going to actually use the extra Mire small key and the Mire big key that we picked up in order to open a door in Swamp Palace, and to open the big chest in Swamp Palace without having to actually get the Swamp Palace version of those keys.
Correct. So Andy did try to get a bomb jump there, which would have prevented him to have to do the second loop over again. But unfortunately, he was a little too far to the right, so he wasn't able to ride that railing into it. So he actually had to opt and get the small key from the jelly, and then come back around this way. So Oase just bomb clipped into the fairy room of Hera, which we will now see him clip into Swamp Palace here. Got, unfortunately, some bad luck there with the Kodango. He was shooting his flame right. Sometimes you'll see that. Often he usually just shoots his flame up or down. And here's that bomb clip. He's gonna couple buffers up there, and he's in. That was very clean from Oase.
Yeah. And same from Andy.
Andy just made up all that time with the sword.
Yeah.
With those sword buffers. What the hell? Excuse me. It makes me mad because it's so good. And
I know. It's pretty infuriating.
I hate it so much.
Yeah, the other advantage to Andy doing those sword clips is that he also gets to keep his sword beams. So
yeah, we'll make his Mire 2 too, because we've already seen Mire 2 once. It'll be optimized here.
Yeah, Oase will be doing the whole thing with the fire rod, which is fine actually, but it's a comfort thing and a little bit of a speed thing. Being able to clean up those popos with beams ends up in your favor, but I think Oase is still... These guys have been trading frames and seconds back and forth, and this is so ludicrously close that...
This is so good. So instead of exiting here left here to go to Vitreous, they're actually going to be taking a fall and going to Viti through the left side of Mire, just because they don't have the necessary small keys to get back there through the right side. So just a little bit of an extra loop that they have to do here. Now they're also going to be setting up Spooky soon here. Spooky in all dungeons is a little different as you would see in NMG. You actually only really get to see Spooky happen in one room as opposed to 3 rooms. And you'll see they're going to use the Cane of Samaria to actually set up the value on the bridge. And then they'll do the familiar kicking up the dust and setting the block thing, and then you won't see Spooky until the second room with the Stalfos and the Antiquaries.
Yeah, because we mirrored back to the front of the dungeon, the switch that would ordinarily have been triggered is not triggered. So we actually don't need to trigger one of the switches we would ordinarily trigger with Spooky. When we actually get into the room where we're going to do Spooky, which is the next room for Oase and Andy here, they're going to be doing a slightly different setup. Because the value that we end up setting the altitude variable in this setup is different than the one you get from the setup you'll commonly see in the New Major Glitches run. We actually have to do this thing from the bottom of the screen in order to hit the switch.
So here we're going to see a Vitreous fight with probably, your typical sword spinning Vitreous fight here with arrows at the end. Waz is very comfortable with arrows, while Andy is a little low on arrows in comparison. He really needs, 8? Or, right?
Yeah, both runners missing the zero cycle on Vitreous.
And they're synced again.
Yeah, I mean, this is... God. This is insanely close. I'm just kind of blown away. I mean, we've had rooms here of pretty literal sync, which is just kind of incredible in a category, like this.
Like this, this is very rare to see. I think later on in the tournament, we're going to see much more not as closely matched up races, which is fine. Some of these races are going to be super, super close, and some of them are going to be, upsets, hopefully, which would be cool. But, yeah, I mean, usually when it comes to speedrunning, I do hate to say it, but, once one person is really taken off, it's going to take something catastrophic for the other person to catch up. But this is not the case here, clearly.
Definitely not, but also the good thing about this category is that there's tons of catastrophic stuff. But speaking of catastrophic stuff, so Andy, unfortunately, popping out of the wall there while attempting to clip through the Mire area barrier. Both runners going to be making their way over to Swamp Palace. This dungeon going to be substantially sped up as a result of that clip that we did while we were in Misery Mire. So because we already have the hook shot, we can grab a key that you ordinarily grab after getting the hook shot. We've already opened the door on the way to the main part of the dungeon, and we've already flooded the first floodable section in the dungeon. So we're able to just go straight from the entrance all the way back to the back. And there will most likely be seen from both runners some new tech with a terrible name that I don't like. But we're going to use that to skip another actually water draining cutscene. So.
Mm-hmm. So Andy actually lost a little bit of time, more time there in the overworld. He got lotteried by one of the Ropas as he was dropping down from the Mire overworld area, and Oase kind of just got a little bit of a lead there. This is really this is why I like all dungeons. Honestly, this part right here is just the very limited amount of time you spend in Swamp Palace. I think it makes it worth it. It's just a really, really cool thing. So very recently we got to see we have all learned about this new trick here called Diver Down. Again, Yuzuhara discovered this. And it was, of course, allowed in this category. And it's just a really, really cool thing that it drastically cut down how much time you would... already short dungeon even more. You don't even have to bother with doing the statue pull anymore. You just clip your way right in there.
Yep.
Basically, the canvas of Mario breaks this game is how we can describe that.
I've been informed that some people are now calling it Holy Diver, and while
Holy Diver.
while I respect Ronnie James Dio, I don't think that he would appreciate it. So I refuse to acknowledge.
I've heard Iron Boots is another name, but you don't really use the boots in the clip, so I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't get it. I think, I don't know. If there's one thing about this community that's interesting, it's its propensity to come up with horrible names for things.
Often
we can't all be great.
Often based on food, surprisingly.
Yeah, so both runners going to be staying on the hookshot here. They both got 0 cycle Argus fights, which is pretty awesome. I think Andy had a little bit of a recovery that he had to do there. But finishing up with just 2 spins of the Tempered Sword rather than switching to like the Fire Rod or something for a slightly faster kill in the last phase. The reason for that is that we're about to go for another clip in order to get into Ice Palace a little bit quicker. And to do that, we're going to be using the hookshot, so it's actually faster to just stay on the hookshot, just do the 2 spins, and avoid having to do that menu.
We're also going to be seeing, getting to Ice Palace here, we're going to be seeing Ice Clip, which is a type of mirror wrap. We haven't seen any mirror wraps yet, so this is going to be the first of 2.
Yeah, so this is going to go pretty quick. We're going to dash over here. We're going to do a really quick hook speed to get up this ledge. We're going to cross over here at a particular range of Y pixels. We're going to bop ourselves out of this thing. And we're going to attempt and fail once on Oase side. We're going to attempt to move left and mirror on the same frame onto the screen to the left. Having a little bit of trouble with it. Andy got it first try.
Yeah. Hitting Y and left at the same time is actually harder than it sounds. Like, real talk. It drives me crazy.
It's no joke. Okay, Oase finally got it, but you see Andy just made up a good bit of time here. Andy now going to be going for, very volatile. Andy going, and it looks like Oase ended up, oh no, he made it. Andy going to be throwing a bomb here to trigger the switch, come down. After doing a little instant wall clip in the lobby of Ice Palace to get down here quicker. Andy's now going to be doing the second of these really new glitches that have been recently incorporated. And this one is called Icebreaker, which is a much better name than Diver Down or Holy Diver. And what we're doing here is using a combination of the doorway movement limitations and the Cane of Samaria being generally incredibly abusable to get ourselves through this barrier here without having to walk all the way around the dungeon. This actually kills a bunch of screens from the dungeon and prevents us from having to do the Ice Palace bomb jump. And so it's actually a pretty nice save.
Yeah, it's a really cool trick, and it is actually even if you're a new person to this category, it's way safer to learn this than rather just do regular Ice Palace bomb jump. I tried to fight it in my brain, and I realized the way.
Yeah,
so,
Oase doing a great job of getting this Ice Palace stair clip.
Very, very smooth.
Yeah, very, very smooth. And, that trick is something that can go one of 2 ways. You either come out on the right-hand side and take no damage, or you can actually, if you're a little bit off on the clip, you'll come out on the left-hand side of the staircase and you'll actually take a heart of damage. Both of these runners in great shape on health, not really a concern. But it can be a little bit of a concern if you're low, so... Meanwhile, Andy... No, I was just going to say, Andy having a pretty nice cold stair fight here. Oase pretty close behind, despite all that time he lost on the clip outside.
Just had a question about how old Icebreaker is. It's also really new. It was found a little bit before Diver Down was found, like literally a week before. So within the last couple months for sure. I could not tell you how many weeks exactly. It's been a weird time. So anyway, time to get the ice rod so we can do literally just beat Turtle Rock. That's the only reason why you'd ever need it ever in any category and type of game you're playing. So
Yeah, so I think both of these runners are going to be going for the clip here. Basically, we need to make our way southeast from Ice Palace, swim our way over, and then we're going to be bombing open a cave. But the question is whether we're going to bomb open the cave the way it's supposed to look, or whether we're going to jump through a wall and bomb open the cave in a weird way. So we'll see what everybody ends up doing. This clip can be a little bit finicky. There are backups for it, but we'll see what happens. Andy's definitely going for it, coming up here on the left. Oh, actually, no, he's not. Andy's just gonna run and jump and swim up and throw a bomb. Oh no, Andy's actually gonna do the other thing. So Andy is gonna clip in here like this, by just doing a very precise upwards teleport into the warp. Oase doing the thing that I was talking about, clipping through the ledge, picking up a bomb, throwing it, and just dashing through here with a slightly broken camera.
That's neat. I actually haven't seen the bomb clip before. But yeah, basically what Andy did is, depending on the pixel that you are on a diagonal boundary, sometimes you can clip through the wall, and sometimes it'll do what is called teleporting, which is just like throw you up so many pixels. We're actually going to see a teleport here in a second, climbing into Turtle Rock. So instead of going into Turtle Rock the normal way with Quake and whatever, because we didn't do any of that, Andy just did a teleport into the mountain, did some half circle backs to kind of get his way to the right there, did another mirror wrap, and is now going to enter into Laser Bridge. Yeah. And we'll see it over here on Oase's end. Really smooth.
Yep. So now we will be doing Turtle Rock literally backwards. And I will point out, by the way, it's actually a good thing that Andy knows how to do that other Ice Rod cave clip, because his bomb count is a little bit would have been a little bit spicy. Yeah. So knowing how to do that no bomb required version is definitely helping him out a little bit here. The nice thing about this dungeon's actually way more fun in AD, I think, than in the RMG speedrun, largely because you don't have to worry about anything. Going through this dungeon backwards is actually substantially safer than going through it from the front. The only thing that we're concerned about is going and getting the big key, so that we can get back to the boss, and then we will be mirroring right the heck out.
Yeah, the room before the big key is always just going to be a dangerous one, just because of the pokies, because of the anti-fairies bouncing around. I mean, the little floaty skull heads that are just following you around and do 3 to 4 hearts of damage. I can't remember which. But yeah, I mean, that's just a room where you always have to just read the RNG and react accordingly. But yeah, and then once they mirror, after getting the big key, they don't have to do any of those rooms ever again. Shout outs to Aptly Duck, who one time started doing the dungeon normally again and thought he had got a good good pokey 2 pattern. Anyway, so they can just mirror back and go straight to Tarnix.
Yep, so Andy going to be forcing his way back in the back. The one tricky thing about this room is that it does require a little bit of a different approach at the start here, because having gone through the dungeon backwards and then mirrored, these switches are not in the position that most runners are actually used to. So there's an extra hit of the switch that has to happen here. Andy getting through just fine, not having a I'm not going to say that, actually. He's my friend. I can't do that. But not having a little party in that room, so that was nice, and having a pretty decent looking Trinex fight here as well.
Yeah, it looks like I don't know if he was going for an extra bomb there, but yeah, it looks like he got a little bit slowed down in the switch room. All right, so after this, what the game is going to try to do after this after this dialogue to match through, game is going to try to force you out the normal Turtle Rock entrance, but of course we can't do that, so they'll save and quit, and then they'll be kind of doing another climb up Death Mountain in a weird manner. They're going to be clipping into Ganon's tower this time.
Yeah, you're going to see a bunch of weird looking stuff, but it's going to start off with that same clip that we've been doing to get into Tower of Hera. But instead of going into Tower of Hera to fix the camera, we're going to leave the camera broken. What you're actually going to see is we're going to walk down. We're going to jump off the ledge below Tower of Hera. We're going to walk into that Dark World portal that's right there. And then we're actually going to be walking down in order to get to the bottom of Death Mountain in the Dark World. And there we're going to actually clip through a ledge. And then we'll be able to warp just like the Hera clip, except we're going to be doing it in the Dark World with the camera broken. We'll be able to go into Ganon's tower directly.
Right. But you won't really see all this. I mean, you'll see some.
No.
We're describing it, but you're not really going to see it. Just so you know.
Yeah.
But really,
they're going to do some stuff, and then they're going to be in Ganon's tower. That's what you're going to see.
This is the last clip that we're going to see from them. After this clip, it's really just up to execution and a little bit of RNG at this point, if I remember correctly. Right? There's no more clips after this. I'm trying to think. Right?
Yeah, there are no more clips after this.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think so. I don't think there are.
Sorry.
So this is really just no, it's fine. This is just an execution game at this point. So we'll get to see some really spicy Ganon's tower and Ganon's towers. That sounded like too many plurals, but it's not.
So
go on.
Not everybody watching the restream, right, probably doesn't have the individual runner streams up. We do. And so this is a pretty spicy situation that we got going on here. If I'm reading this correctly, Andy is only 4 seconds behind his PB, which he got, by the way, 30 seconds before this race started. 30 seconds
before this race started.
And more importantly, though, Oase is currently a minute 22 ahead of his PB coming out of Turtle Rock. So
these guys are racing like crazy.
Yeah, these guys are both playing out of their minds right now, and this has been a real treat. So,
yep. So really, yeah, like if you're not familiar with, how normally Ganon's Tower goes in a speedrun kind of sense, the race is to get that big key as quickly as possible, and then climb in GT as quickly as possible. You'll defeat Aga 2. And then you will mirror to the light world on top of the pyramid, to Hyrule Castle to do Aghanims Tower, deal with some lovely RNG, and then get to beat Ganon at that point.
Yeah, so we've got RNG, and RNG here. We've got RNG on Aga 2. We've got a whole lot of RNG on Aga 1, and then we've got Warp RNG on Ganon. So literally the rest of the run, pretty much from here on out, once we get to the top of Ganon's tower, is all RNG. And that could be, depending on how you look at it, either way more or less frustrating than running some other categories of this. You'll always get more runs to the end, assuming the clips go well. That can be on PB pace, but man, is it neat when you just get incredibly apathy duck level unluckiness at the top of every run. So we will see what happens to
I feel that.
Yeah.
My PB has 5 blue balls and 13 Ganon warps. It's brutal.
Yeah, it can definitely be a whole thing. So again, really though, we're about, I don't know, what, two rooms apart right now, maybe 2.5, depending on how you want to count. Andy about to start his gauntlet here. These 5 rooms of pure combat. A decent chunk of RNG in here, but Andy off to a good start.
Yeah, I mean, the gauntlet is, beat every enemy in the room kind of situation, and sometimes you get some really crappy enemy movement RNG that you just have to deal with, and looks like Andy's doing a pretty good job cleaning up. And Oase is starting up here, but definitely keeping pace.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen much drift here since we started coming up here. So. Okay,
Oase's having a little trouble here in Gauntlet 3. He just got a little. Those blue Zazics, just if they go to the right, I mean, you're fighting against like a bear at that point, and it's just tough.
Yeah. Yep. Got the good gauntlet 4 though.
Yes. All right. Nice quick kills for Landmo 2 from both runners.
So coming up on this torches room here, and he's gonna pull out his lamp and hopefully operate his controller successfully, which he did. That room is really easy, unless you unless you got a fat thumb and start hitting diagonals, and then it suddenly becomes Sadness Town. Getting the early fire rod shot to the right there too, which is nice. Always feels good.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, missing that key pickup there, so that had to take a little lap.
And something that just like I always admire at this, from this level of players, it's just like their absolute comfort with being like, yeah, I'm supposed to have this much magic. I know I have exactly 4 lamp, uses and a fire rod shot, and I mean they're just trucking through like they know exactly like how it's gonna go, and there is something to be said about like playing a game confidently. What Oase just did there, he is gonna be killing Landmo 2. It looks like he did drop his bomb, his last bomb, so it would just be a little bit of a faster menu later on here. When he gets to Aga Tower, he can just go straight to the fire rod.
Yeah, Andy did pick up a little bit of time for hovering across that pit, but
yes,
again, not a ton actually.
Not a ton. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean even Aga 2 has its own set of RMG to deal with. I mean sometimes you just get really terrible patterns, and it's just hard to deflect.
Like that one that Oase just got.
Yeah, that was not nice at all. He got a double there, which is pretty good, and that wasn't exactly generous either. Of course, he got a blue ball on that one, and now they're a little bit desynced.
Yeah. So Andy gonna be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, I was just gonna say Andy gonna be using his mirror. We unfortunately for us, the game actually does treat Aga Tower in the White World as a dungeon, so we have to beat it. We could have decided we didn't have to, but I don't know. Some people decided we did, so here we are. So because who doesn't want more RNG at the end
all
of the
dungeons
run,
means each and every dungeon. Okay.
Yeah.
My student said that one time, and it just stuck with me ever since. That and being an all dunny honey. Okay, that's.
Yeah. Did you just say Lanxion said as a justification for something?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I heard that right, because
it was Lanx. Is it okay that it's from
something
Lanx?
about that just didn't compute for me.
Okay, so unfortunately Oase had a little bit of a slower Aga 2, so he will be trailing a little bit behind here, but like we said, that Aga 1 RNG, I mean, we can go ahead and explain Aga 1, I guess. I mean,
before we do that,
a lot of people here know, but go
just
on.
so everybody's clear, coming out of that Ganon's Tower even after that Aga 2 fight, Oase actually gained 10 seconds on his PB. So he's now 1:30 ahead. So this is spicy for Oase. The race is secondary at this point. He's killing it right now. So now we can talk about Aga 1 RNG. That just needed to be said.
Yes.
So yeah, we do have Aga 1 coming up on Andy's side, and shortly on Oase's side. Aga 1 is, kind of the same as Aga 2, except there's only one Aga. but still has the same issue with either shooting the energy balls that we can reflect back at the boss, or the blue balls that we can do nothing about. So we will see how many they get. The minimum is 0, the maximum is 15, and according to some people, it's always 6. So we will see what we get
It's always
here.
5. 5 is always my number. All right, it's 1 for Andy.
All right, you count Andy. I'll count Oase when he gets in here.
Yeah, I'm also looking at how much time is between these two. Looks to be almost 40 seconds between the two.
Yeah.
Alright, that's 2 for Andy.
None so far for Oase, so
Oh man.
yeah, this is spicy.
I guess that's 3. I'm behind, I guess. Chat is counting. 3 is the good old average. Always take a
Perfectly
3,
average
guys.
Andy.
Always take a 3. Never be
Okay,
good. Was that a 0
Oase. That was 0 for Oase.
Oh
so,
man. This is gonna be a really great PB for him.
He is a happy boy right now. So we're gonna see what his Ganon warps look like. But wow, this is
wow. I can't believe he just saved all that time. That was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. So if Andy dies to Ganon.
What's actually going to be telling here is, Ganon warps. I mean, it does happen. But we'll see if either of these hunters are unlucky in that regard. But yeah, Oase really made up a lot of time there, about 30 seconds, I believe.
Yeah, and saved 12 seconds off of his PB, so I assume he had a 2 blue ball Aga 1 in his PB, so. But Oase unfortunately
missed
the one-on-one, so he's gonna take a little bit of time whilst here. Did a good job of cleaning it up, but yeah, definitely losing a little bit of time here. Not gonna be happy about that. Still going to be a pretty huge PB.
Andy playing it safe there. He probably could have gotten an extra spin before lighting that torch, but looks like he yeah, here they are, both in G4.
Yep.
This has been such a great race.
Really, really and truly, this is so close, and I gotta tell you, like, I'm just kind of blown away by Andy's on PB pace too.
Yeah, he is. Wow, that was so close. Alright, Andy's at sword up, and he's gonna be getting, just missed the 111. GG on for Andy, a 112.04.
Yep. So Andy clocking in with Andy clocking in with a 12-second PB, and Oase clocking in with a 1 minute 43-second PB.
43-second PB, dude. Oase, I just want to. Holy cow, man!
Yeah.
He was gaming his face off. Holy crap, dude.
Good lord,
that was fantastic. Really. That was awesome.
Can you imagine? Like, I'm just sitting here thinking about being on that kind of pace on the restream in a race.
Yeah.
like I would have literally gamed out of my mind and probably lost my mind about halfway through.
Same.
Absolutely
was,
incredible.
Yeah,
Super
only
nuts.
only 8 seconds between these two runners. I mean, that is such a close race for this category. Like, that is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, good lord. Well, you couldn't ask for a better opener. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
I think we're gonna try and get both of these fine gamer folks into the commentary here for an interview real quick.
Yeah, sure.
All right, well, I think we're still waiting on Oase. We do have Andy here with us, though.
Hello.
Hey, Andy.
Hi, gamer.
Hello.
He'll unmute maybe eventually.
What?
No, I can hear him.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm here.
I have him muted because
Wow.
I used to be in the same room as him when we used to live in a different.
Imagine
What's
having...
up, Andy?
Hello.
Hey.
Imagine having Andy muted. Wow.
It was a way of life back then.
GG on the PB. It's
Dude,
2 in a
nice
row.
to
Yeah. I can't believe I pulled out another low 112 in a row. Pretty crazy.
I mean, on the plus side too, you get to definitely show the credits on this one. So
Yep. Yeah, that's what I just told my stream. Yeah, this is a crazy race. I opened up the restream, but I wasn't really paying attention until after pod, basically. And it was just back and forth the whole time. It was super fun.
Yeah, that was such a good race between you two.
yeah, there were long stretches of things where you guys were, the sync was real. Not the BS sync that we talk about sometimes. There were a fair number of screens, a good way through the run that were legitimately synced. So, very, very, very cool. Very, very cool to watch. And I don't know if he said this or if you saw it, but we'll talk about it when he gets in here. But Oase also at the huge PB.
Yes, this was a huge PB,
massive PB. So yeah, hopefully we can get him in here and give him some good GGs for that, because good lord.
Yeah, what a way to start this tournament.
I know.
Speaking of Oase,
Yo, GG.
Hey, thank you.
Yo, GG, Oase.
Dude, you
Yeah.
killed
GG,
it.
man.
I'm so impressed. That was such a treat to watch. That was awesome.
yeah, I was watching your splits the whole time, and the number kept the number next to the minus sign kept getting bigger for the most part. So that's always a good feeling.
Yeah, I was getting nervous too because of that. I was trying to hide my sleep, but I just kept looking at them, and I was like, "Holy crap!"
That's awesome. I mean, if you were nervous, we couldn't tell because we were like, holy cow, he is just obliterating this game right now. Yeah. And that 0 blue balls, that was super hype. We were so excited.
And what's funny with that, it was 0 blue balls into 0 warp, but I missed the 1+1, so it could have been even closer.
Yeah.
It could have, but good. I mean, it was 8 seconds. God, the fact that it probably actually, it could have been a tie. is absolutely insane in a category like this. That's just out of control. Especially, again, as the opening race of this tournament, right? We had two runs that came in within 8 seconds of each other, both of which PB'd. one of which was literally a player gaming out of his freaking mind and getting an almost 2-minute PB. So again, yeah, sure, it could have been closer, but it was already a cosmic level event as far as I'm concerned.
Sorry, Duck, it's all downhill from here. Yeah, we were talking before this too, because I did 2 runs before this, and I got a 115 and a 112. And so it was I think my best run this week is a 116. And so
Yeah, that's funny.
He just dumps out this low 112, jumps to 15th on the leaderboard. Goodness.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah, big GGs to both of you.
Do you guys have anything else you want to say about, I don't know, how you're feeling or what happened? Or, both of you had really solid runs. There's not a whole lot that went wrong to even talk about.
I was pretty bummed that I messed up the Mire bomb jump.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Yeah, it looked like
but,
you were a
you
little
know.
far to the right, maybe, and you couldn't quite clip in.
No, I messed up diagonal and then popping back out. I
Gotcha.
think. But yeah, my arrow count was a little sketchy for a while. But yeah, overall it was really good. Also getting lottoed out on my way to Swamp sucked. I
Yeah.
hate that lotto.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, like, I can't complain. It's a really good.
Yeah, I think the only bad thing was the IP wrap for me. Because I tried like
Yeah.
5 times getting that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. You definitely, you lost some time there, and I mean, you guys were neck and neck leaving Swamp until
We
that
both
point.
got 0 cycle Argus. That was dope to watch.
Yep.
Like, after, there's a little bit of delay. So I got to watch, like, both of us finish it off as I was waiting for Argus to explode. It was really cool.
So though, I mean, again, having to reset up that IP mirror wrap 5 times and still, making up actually a lot of the time over the rest of the run was just, it's awesome to watch. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I think I golded all the splits actually. After that. Well, except for that tower end.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's a whole lot of good stuff on your splits, so nothing to be too terribly sad about there. Well, with that, I think that we've got tournament administrator Apathy Duck who wants to say
The
some
duck.
administrative stuff
Hey.
about the tournament. So, Duck.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I just want to echo everything that you guys said. This is absolute perfect kickoff to this match. I couldn't have scripted it better. I think the only thing we were missing is the upset with Oase getting nearly a 2-minute PB and still not being able to get it. So just absolutely great work. It went perfect, double PBs. No one cut me, so like it's amazing.
Oh my god.
Duck is shaking in his boots right now.
I am. But and just the commentary was excellent. Like this was perfect. So I just wanted to thank all 4 of you for agreeing to do this. But yeah, this is the official kickoff race. It's actually the second race of the tournament already. We had another one earlier today. Congratulations to Kozer for winning that one. But yeah, it's going to be the group stages are going to go on for the next 3 weeks. We got like 15 groups, so it's going to be the top 2 advance. And then there's going to be like 2 overall wild card spots for the entire thing. So those are going to be hotly contested because there's a lot of people racing. A lot of people are going to put up good times. So overall times are going to matter. You can drop one just in case. Mostly because this category is so volatile, we didn't want to punish like an IP wrap power lock or something, which you lose 15 minutes. So should have a bunch of good restreams. People are scheduling their matches now, so in the next couple days we will start to figure out exactly what we're going to get on ZSR here for restreams. And we're planning on not only like highlighting like some of the top runners, but players of all skill levels. So there'll be a lot of interesting matches. A lot of the players kind of in the 114 to 120 ranges. It's a lot of really good players who have like 127s to like 125s in NMG and just haven't put the time really into this category. So we're going to see a lot of PBs this tournament. Just since we started, the number of PBs on the leaderboard has almost doubled. So there was more people in this tournament than we had runs on the leaderboard when we started. So the response has been fantastic. Hopefully we'll have a lot more good matches. It's gonna be tough to beat this one, I'm gonna be honest, but hope to see everyone coming out and checking out a lot more of the restreams.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
good stuff. Well, Kelsey,
thanks so
thank you
much,
for
guys.
hanging out and talking with me.
No, you thanks Thanks, Evo.
Oh my god, how much more can we thank each other before we get kicked off at the stream?
I can thank you guys.
Probably not
again.
anymore, actually. I think we're
Thanks.
good.
GG's to
Okay.
both Andy and Oase, and big thanks to Kelsey and Emosaro for doing excellent commentary tonight. It was so much fun to watch these RMG all dungeon runs because it's so fast, and I just find it really interesting with all the glitches that are done. So thanks everyone for joining us, and I don't know, does anyone have any final comments, or are we going to call it a night?
Shout out to CSR for hosting, and thank you guys so much.
It was my pleasure. Well, thanks everyone, and we hope to see you again. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.